Well, good morning, everybody. And I am apologizing to those who have joined us that had difficulty with the link and the emails being scrambled and such. We will work on getting that fixed before our next session. And as a reminder to everybody, we will do these now monthly, and they will be planned for the first Monday of each month, unless that's a holiday, and we'll communicate that well in advance. But today we have two folks I'd like to introduce, Maury Purcell and Lauren Thompson with Thornwell. And I'll just go over their bios briefly. We'll start with Lauren. It's always ladies first. Lauren has a bachelor's degree in early childhood education from the University of South Carolina, a master's degree in leadership from the Citadel. Her past work experiences include the Ronald McDonald House of Charleston, the Citadel, and she has a passion for helping others and building relationships. She enjoys combining these passions to engage and inspire others to provide their generous love and support to the children and families served by Thornwell. Lauren lives in Mount Pleasant. She enjoys spending time with her boyfriend, 2 dogs, reading, relaxing at the beach, and getting in a workout at Burn Boot Camp. Okay, Lauren. And Maury Purcell is a retired business owner from Greenville, South Carolina. He and his wife, Catherine, moved to Hilton Head in December of 2020. He is currently the vice chair of the board of Thornwell, where he has served for 5 years and is active on the Mission Advancement Committee and the Finance Investment Committee. He's also a member of the Hilton Head Sunset Rotary, where he's the program chair. So I would like for folks, if you have questions as we go through the presentation, please put those in the chat and we will wrap up the session with answering those questions. And with that, I'd like to turn it over to Maury. Go ahead, Maury.
All right. Thank you, Lou. Thank you all for having us. Lauren and I are tickled to death to be with you guys. To get right to it, we're going to talk about Thornwell, but I'd like in Thornwell a lot, we talk about our why. Why do we do this? What's the passion that drives us? What got us into serving with Thornwell, or really any charitable organization or movement that you're involved in? And some of you have heard the story of my wife, Catherine, who was horribly abused by her mother. That's really the why that got us involved in Thornwell many years ago. I'm going to give you a little history about Thornwell for those of you that are not that familiar. Thornwell was founded in Clinton, South Carolina in 1875 by Dr. William Plummer Jacobs and his wife Mary to care for orphans after the Civil War. Clinton's about halfway between Columbia and Greenville off of I-26. For 147 years now, we've served as a loving home for abused, abandoned, and neglected kids. We still use the cottage concept where 8 to 10 kids are housed in an individual cottages or homes on campus with a mom and a dad who care for them as if they were their own. The campus sits on about 30 acres for them. We have another 340 acres, which now serves as the Lush Acres Farm, which grows everything from livestock to strawberries and vegetables. We also have agritourism, which Lauren's going to talk about as well. I want to give you a few statistics, a little bit of history on childcare, as well as a few sobering statistics on it. Until the early 2000s, the childcare model at Thornwell remained largely unchanged. Being a ministry of the Presbyterian Church, took these kids in, loved them as their own, no matter the circumstances. However, they were seeing more and more severely stressed kids coming through the doors due to the mental and physical abuse they were suffering, including incest, rape, even some instances of sex trafficking, as well as physical abuse. The sheer volume of children coming in this state and across the country was truly becoming alarming. In 2015, South Carolina signed a consent decree called settle a class action lawsuit called the Michelle H. Settlement. One of the main stipulations was that children would begin to be moved out of group homes and more would be placed into family, or called kindred care, and foster care, with group homes as a last resort. Quite a few homes shut down in the state and a number around the country. One of them you may be familiar with was a Boys Home of the South, which I think closed several years ago. In 2018, the federal government signed the Family First Act, which was passed by Congress and signed into legislation. It picked up where the Michelle H. settlement left off. one of the main tenets of the bill was that children who were removed from the home were first to be placed with family as a first resort, secondly, kindred care, then foster care, and finally into group homes as the last resort. Also, this is the change. Children under the age of 12 could only be in a group home setting for no more than 2 weeks. After that, they had to be moved somewhere else. While those 12 and older could stay. The end result was too few families willing or able to take the kids on, too few foster families as the surge in demand for foster care took hold, and children were being split up from their siblings due to the 12 and under rule for group homes. So in essence, you had a 12 or 13-year-old staying at Thornwell, and his 4-year-old and 8-year-old brothers were being shipped off to who knows where. So it split, the end result was unintended really, is it split families up. And children were being bounced around the foster care system with as many as 10 times before they finally reached Thornwell. And guess what? COVID made it worse. Lost parents, more stress. And so things just continue to get worse. From my personal view, I'm not speaking for Thornwell on this, but from my experience, things are no better than they were 10 and 20 years ago in our state and the country, despite all these actions. In fact, they're probably worse. As many of you have noticed, the provisions of the Michelle H. Settlement and the Family First Act that I read to you did nothing about what the root causes were that got kids in this mess in the first place. Here are some stats. There are over 400,000 children nationwide in the foster care system. That number's been relatively stable for about the last 4 or 5 years. It was up around 500,000. There are over 4,000 children in foster care in South Carolina, and about another 2,300 are waiting for a foster care home. So every night there's 2,300 kids not knowing where they're going to sleep the next night. There are over 400 kids in this position in the Low Country. In 2018, according to DSS statistics in our state, there were 10,470 found investigations of child abuse and neglect. As of August of 21, there were 1,540 cases of educational neglect, roughly 340 in the Low Country. There were 7,750 cases of physical neglect in the state and over 300 in the Low Country. 2,200 cases of physical abuse, 327 cases of sexual abuse, and 105 alone in the Low Country. Finally, there were, and these are sometimes multiples, so they're not additive, but they're adding up some of the different situations, roughly 5,000 cases of substantial risk of physical or mental injury in the state, with 727 in the Low Country. Those are a lot of numbers, but there are a lot of sobering numbers. I ran through them pretty quickly. Other stats, these are mainly nationwide. As of 2019, 12 million or 17% of kids live below the poverty line. In South Carolina, 215,000 or 20% of our kids live below the poverty line. 18 million kids or 25% live without a biological step or adoptive father in the home. 50% of kids who age out of foster care, and that's at 18 in our state, pretty much the same everywhere else, will find, 50% of kids who age out of foster care at the age of 18 will find gainful employment by the age of 24, only half of them. 3% of kids who age out of foster care will ever earn a college degree at any point in their life, 3%. 1 out of 5 kids in foster care will become homeless. 1 in 4 kids out of foster care will be involved in the criminal justice system. And guess what the first casualty is for kids under stress we've described? Education. If you're worried about where you're going to get your next meal, or worried about getting battered and abused by a family member, education comes in dead last. So the kids we get are grade levels, not a grade level, but usually multiple grade levels behind in education once they hit our campus. Now, those are a lot of sobering, depressing statistics, but I'm going to have Lauren talk to you a bit about what Thornwell's doing to address these problems with a little cheerier side. Lauren, take it away.
Right. Thank you, Maury, and thank you all for allowing me to come in this meeting alongside of you all this morning. So Maury shared a little bit about Thornwell's history and legacy of serving society's most vulnerable children and families in need. And we will be 148 years next month. So as with any organization of our age, Thornwell has had to adapt and pivot along with time. And what started as that orphanage in rural Clinton, South Carolina, where they say the tea is sweet and silent, has now grown to offer services all across South Carolina, Georgia, and Florida. So I know it's still early in the morning, but I want y'all to take a second and close your eyes. And now I want you to picture yourself. You are a child. You've been removed from your home, from your community, your church, your school. Just how heartbreaking that would be, and how disrupted to your peace and to your understanding of the world. I want you to picture yourself as a child that you've been neglected. You've had to worry about your safety, where your next meal is coming from. You've never had a caregiver to consistently take you to school. When you're a child focused on survival, education falls to the wayside. And picture yourself as a teenager. You've aged out of the foster care system, and your whole life has been one transition after another. You've been in and out of different schools. You've been in and out of different foster care homes, on average about 4 a year. You have no plan in place and nothing to fall back on, no hope. This is very much the reality for the children and the youth that we are serving at Thornwell. All right, you can open your eyes now. So at Thornwell, we believe that family changes everything, and rather address the care of the children that we're serving as a singular event, we have an ongoing comprehensive cycle of services in our continuum of care. Our continuum of care is broken into three service areas: academic, care, and family services. Last year, 2021, we served over 2,100 children and families across South Carolina, Georgia, and Florida through our continuum of care programs. With school having recently started back, and some of us in this meeting having children and grandchildren that have gone on back to school, I figured I would start off with a little bit about our academic programs. At Thornwell, we love this back to school season. We really believe that education is such a powerful key to the future for the children that we're serving. The enrichment, the self-confidence, the empowerment that comes through growth in academics is critical for a child's development. On campus in Clinton, South Carolina, we have a Child Development Center, which under the guidance of master's level qualified certified teachers, we offer high quality and affordable child care to infants through 4K. The cost is on a sliding scale, with some families not even having to pay a weekly fee. And it is just so imperative, because this allows many families in Lawrence County that otherwise would not be able to work or to be able to have an income coming in just because of the high cost of childcare to be able to do so. Last year, in 2021-2020 school year, we impacted the lives of 139 infants through 4K in our Child Development Center. As Maury said, many of the children and youth that come to Thornwell are grade levels behind. And because of the struggle to keep up, they have no joy when it comes to learning. We have programs that change that, and we want to be able to help unlock the key to a bright future for the youth and teens that we're serving. Read Right is our unique reading intervention program that creates excellent readers by rewiring the brain. The curriculum encourages kids to derive meaning from the text they are reading, and through instruction and encouragement, our Read Right tutors help the students figure it out on their own, and it fosters a new confidence and a new comfort in reading that they've never experienced before. Last year, we transformed 102 students from poor to excellent readers, not just good, but they tested at the excellent level. You know, when you start being able to read at a good level, that directly impacts all of the other subjects that you're going to be learning when you're in school. I also want to share about our care services. So we started as an orphanage. So the residential program is really the roots of our ministry, if you will. And Maury shared about all of the changes that we have faced along the last 12 years at Thornwell. And our program is unique in that we are the only attachment-based residential care program in the Southeast. So we serve children and youth that have been adopted into loving homes, but their caregivers that have opened up their homes you need some extra support with helping the children overcome the early developmental trauma that they experienced that has a long-term impact on that child. We also serve children that are placed by the Department of Social Services, but as Maury mentioned, that number has been dwindling and we do not get many of those anymore. Our staff of our residential program are master's level and they are highly trained to be able to meet the unique needs that youth and teens with the developmental trauma bring. We offer many therapies to these children, from individual to group to the family therapies, and we have expressive therapies, art, drama, and equine. The children that come that are being placed from their adoptive parents, they stay with us a relatively short period of time, about 9 to 12 months. And during their time of their healing and their growth at Thornwell, their caregivers that have adopted them also come alongside of Thornwell's therapists to be able to learn how to continue working with their child on their healing process and being able to continue moving forward once they get returned back to the home. Once the child returns home, we also continue to provide therapy to continue that process and just that growth that they've experienced at Thornwell. The fee is on a sliding scale, with some families not paying anything, but other families pay several $1,000s for their children to be able to take part in this program. The therapy alone costs $35,000 per year per child. And in 2021, 77 children were provided safe and loving homes to grow and heal at Thornwell, and we offered over 930 hours of therapy. Maury mentioned the emphasis on foster care placement in the state of South Carolina. And with us knowing that any given day that there are 2,800 children that need a place to call home, we wanted to be able to do our part with that. We are now licensing, recruiting, vetting, and helping train foster care families. And once they have a child placed with them, Thornwell offers 24/7, 365 support. I know that there are a couple people that said that they were from the Columbia, Little River and Dillon area in this meeting. We are actively licensing foster care families in those areas today. Last year, we placed 64 children and teens in Thornwell licensed foster care homes. And year to date in 2022, 76 children and teens have been placed. We also have a very unique foster care village on our campus in Clinton. It allows larger sibling groups and those that will have siblings underneath the age of 12 that are being removed from the homes for whatever the reason may be, to be able to stay together. And the situation about what I'm going to tell you right now is a very sad situation. And I'm so thankful that we have our foster care village, because for lack of better words, the children that are on our foster care village and campus right now saw their parents murder one of their other siblings. So the fact that they are able to stay together as that family unit while they are processing this trauma and being able to start their healing is imperative. These children that live in our foster care village also are able to take part in all of the therapies we have, the group therapies, the individual therapies, the art, the drama, the equine. We really just want to make it as individualized as possible to be able to help these children. Maury also shared some statistics that are heartbreaking on what happens to the young adults that are aging out of the state system. And we have a transitional living program to be able to come alongside of that population. And we serve ages 18 to 23. And we all know at the age of 18, you personally might think you are an adult, but your brain's frontal lobe is still developing. You really need some guidance and some support to be able to help you navigate all of life's decisions. These young adults that are in our transitional living program are working jobs in the local community. They're taking community college courses, and some are even going to four-year universities and coming back home to Thornwell and to their parents in the cottages to help them on like the weekends and on the school breaks. They're learning how to balance vocational and educational responsibilities. They're learning how to navigate life skills training, and they're learning how to budget. Last year, we served 20 young adults in our transitional living program. And just recently, I heard a success story. It was a young lady that within our residential program. She has turned 18, so she has transitioned to our transitional living program. She has gotten a job working across the street from Thornwell at Presbyterian College in their dining hall. And the teaching parents that are in the transitional living college are helping her budget to be able to save for her car. And she's going to start working towards getting her driver's license at Thornwell. Our Building Families program falls underneath our family services, and it's designed to equip, empower, and educate families to really be able to live their best lives together. And it ultimately wants to prevent the breakdown of the family units to where the child has to be removed from the home. We work with families with children from ages 3 to 17 in 20 host sites across South Carolina, Georgia, and Florida. Our Building Family specialists actually go inside the family's home to remove the clinical setting to be able to best address the obstacles that this family needs to overcome. Families that are participating in Building Families may be navigating life changes such as divorce, job loss, grief, educational difficulties. Last year, we served over 1,400 children and families through our Building Families programs. And last but not least, I want to touch on Lush Acres Farm. It's a little different from our programs, but it is a very big part of helping support some of our programs. The farm sits on 340 acres, and it was once a working dairy farm that was a livelihood of all of the orphans that were living at Thornwell. It is now a vibrant enterprise, and we hold farm festivals throughout the year. We have a farmers market that is open a couple days a week. And anyone that attends one of our farm festivals or comes to our farmers market to purchase local produce and meats, the proceeds are directly going back to our continuum of care programs. So I know that Clinton, South Carolina is not close to really any of us in this meeting, but if you're going to be traveling through next month, each Saturday in October, we will be holding our Fall Farm Festival. It has a mile-long corn maze, hay rides. It's a good way to be able to come and see a little piece of our campus and also know that you were given back by supporting the programs that we do in our continuum of care. So I'm going to kick it back to Maury for a little bit and appreciate y'all's time.
Thanks, Lauren. You've heard some thumbnail sketches from Lauren on what we do. And as you can tell, we're pretty busy. We're in a lot of different things. Thornwell has evolved a lot over the years. The common denominator of what she's telling you is it takes a lot of people to run this ministry. And that takes a lot of money. Our biggest expense is people, most of which is not reimbursed. We get very little money from the state government. The fact that we were telling you $35,000 a year for psychological and care for one child, by and large, that is paid out of Thornwell's pocket. We're now starting to get some insurance reimbursements and getting that set up, but it's taken a while. So you can see there's a lot of money going out. We need a lot of money coming in, which is one reason, frankly, we're talking to you today. I'm proud that we consistently earn a 4-star rating, which is the highest from Charity Navigator. We have a numerical score, if you're familiar with it, of 94.5 out of 100. 80 cents of every dollar given to Thornwell goes directly to programs, which is a number we're very proud of. Lauren, I want to kick it back because we have one other little thing to invite you with, and I've seen some of the comments. Some of them I wanted to talk about, but I saw some questions. We'll answer it then about, I think, funding and where the money comes from and how that works. Lauren, I think you might have an invitation for everybody you want to talk about for a second.
Absolutely. So on November 1st in Hilton Head, we are going to be holding the Lighthouse Ball at Port Royal Beach House. Thornwell's president will be speaking. Our very own Maury will be there, and he has been just such a blessing to us and leading the charge on this event. And it's going to really be a fun, informal way to come out and learn more about Thornwell and also have a chance to be able to support the wonderful programs that are changing lives through our continuum of care. So I'm going to share mine and Maury's contact information in the chat. We would love to be able to have some of y'all attend, so please let us know if you're interested in attending the Lighthouse Ball. And we would also love if you were ever going to be passing through the area and you'd like to see campus and the heart of our mission, please let us know and we would be happy to give you a tour. So I'm going to share our information.
And while you're doing that, I'll go ahead and bring up a couple of the questions and might even prompt a couple others as well.
Well,
So my understanding is that you housed the foster children prior to their being into a foster family.
actually, Lou, they are, that's a very good question. Foster children are on our campus with a true foster father and mother. By that, I mean that they would be as if you were fostering one in your own home. They happen to have 6 to 8 of them. They are paid directly by the state because foster parents are paid by the state on a per monthly basis. I think it's $700 a month, whatever it is. Anyway, they get that money themselves. They stay rent-free in one of our cottages, and we provide most of the meals as well as a psychological or any of that therapy needed on our nickel. If that helps answer that question. But that's why we call it the foster care village. I think we have 2 homes now open, Lauren, for that, where they actually have a foster mother and a father living on campus in one of our houses, rent-free and probably 50% food-free, and they get that money reimbursed.
So that was the part I missed. So it's actually a foster family living on campus.
Correct, but we also
So how many
recruit, and find other foster parents for them.
how many children are with one foster?
Typically, our cottages, Mary, are 8 to 10. So I think the most we have right now, maybe Lauren, is 6.
I
but
think
we
it's
have
6
capacity
in
of
the
up-
foster care village, and they're all siblings. So we have on campus, we have children and teens that are really coming from a lot of different journeys in life. We are going to have those that might be placed by the state for a very brief period of time in a residential cottage. The state of South Carolina is going to be working really hard on trying to find a foster home or a kinship care placement if they can. We also have the children that have already been adopted into loving homes. And they have the caretakers that want to give them the world, but when they get into the homes, these parents, even though they have the most loving hearts, a lot of times they don't have the experiences to be able to help these children overcome a lot of the early trauma that they experience. And so, yes, they've opened up their homes, but these kids just won't open up to them. And they're not going to be able to live a life where they're thriving until we're able to help meet some of the needs that their trauma and their young lives have brought. So we have them from all different walks of life. So the ones that the state has removed them from the home, the ones that may have been adopted even at a young age. They could have been adopted at 3 or 4 or 5, but they're getting into these preteens, teenage years, and their caretakers and their adoptive parents just need some extra support. And then we do have, so with foster care, we do license foster care families, but a lot of people, when they want to open up their family to do foster care, they can maybe take two or three children at a time. They're not going to be able to open up their personal home to a group of 6 siblings. So our foster care village, we really wanted to be able to do something to keep these large groups of siblings that are being removed from the homes, to do our best to keep them together as a family unit. So that's what our foster care village is. And it will also allow younger children to be able to stay with their older siblings.
Yeah, good point. Good point.
Okay.
Explain it, Mary.
So another question was, what % of foster children are ever adopted?
I don't have that number, Lou. Do you, Lauren?
I do not. I don't have that number. That is something that I can most certainly ask and find out. I do know that our state likes to do a big place on getting that child back into the home of either an aunt, an uncle, a loving. They place a big place on like kinship care, but there are situations where the biological parents might not be fit to be the parents. There might not be a loving relative that is fit to be able to provide that care. So there are some situations to where foster care children will later on become adopted.
Maury, you mentioned briefly about funding. What is the funding model for Thornwell?
Great question, Lou. Our budget is roughly $12 million a year. We get about half of that from fundraising. We get about a quarter of that from fees for service. And we get the other quarter from our annual fund, which is around, our target this year is around $5 million, I think. That's a steep climb every year to make that happen.
And in relation to that, I think the question is, what is the average cost of fostering a child at Thornwell for you,
Okay.
excluding that $35,000 for the
Right, excluding that, if the foster care family are getting reimbursed by the state, essentially rent-free, the money is really for maintenance. We are, there's not much out of pocket there. Some of it's food. I would imagine if I were to put a number on it, it's probably in the neighborhood of maybe 25 to 45,000 a year that actually Thornwell is spending on that foster care family for the cottage, not per child.
Okay.
Yeah.
Much
And then
less-
for our attachment-based residential care program, it's anywhere typically from around 65,000 to 72,000, just, and that varies on the length that the child is at Thornwell. And it's typically from 9 to 12, but we have had them stay, that will be there up until like 15 months.
And half of that is therapy related.
Okay, another question for you that's kind of on the same line. If somebody came to you and said, okay, we would like to be a foster parent in our home, what's the average cost that you would tell them it's going to cost them to do that?
Actually, the cost to train the parent, recruit the parent, everything there is no charge. If I'm correct. And then they receive money from the state once they're placed. So we're doing that service to them at no charge for their training, placement, and as Lauren said, 24/7, 365 days a year for any support they need, if over the phone or whatever. There's no charge for that from us.
And the state has set up our state in different territories when it comes to foster care licensing. So right now, Thornwell is coming alongside of families in the upstate, in the Midlands, and in the PD. Well, selfishly, I'm in the low country. So I really want us to be able to get into where we're doing the licensing here. And I know that is a goal for us, but there are just so many elements that are out of our control in each area. And once a child is in the foster care system and in someone's home, like Maury said, it's usually around $700 a month that the state provides them for that child. But I mean, you think about the clothing, the food, you really are hoping that they are having these children be able to take part in extracurricular activities and live a full life. So that $700 goes very quickly. These are people that have a really generous and kind and loving heart. They're not going to make money off opening their home to a foster child. That's for sure.
One thing I did want to mention, I don't know if you have any other questions, real quick, is that the building families Lauren touched on, that is sending master's level therapists into the homes to interact directly with the parents and the child, talking about how do you resolve problems in a family, how do you resolve issues that come up, what are proper parenting techniques. We have to realize some of these people are second, third generation going through this system. So they're teaching them that we have master's level therapists. I think we have, is it around 30 of them, 25 now? Cost about $50,000 a year. And we house them throughout the 3-state area. And we're looking to expand that, but we have churches that have been kind enough to step up, provide office space, phone, copier, that kind of thing. So we're in essence paying the salary of those. And most of our customers, if you will, do not have the ability to pay. Probably 70% of our building families, customers or clients are single moms, which probably wouldn't surprise you.
Okay, we have one final question and then we're going to wrap it up. And I want everybody to look in the chat. You do have the contact information for both Maury and Lauren to see if you have other things that you'd like to follow up with them, or if you'd like to find out, how could you maybe help them in some fashion. So the final question is, what is the youngest age that you accept on your campus?
So at one point in time, Thornwell, before all of the changes by the state, we had infants. You could come and people could hold babies, and the older children that were orphans on campus would have jobs to help with providing care for the younger children working on the farm. Well, now as with time, there have been stipulations that we can't control. So the youngest age of our residential program that will be placed there by the state is 12 years of age.
12. Wow.
Well,
Now,
But we-
under foster care, we can take younger kids.
but foster care, we take younger children. And I will say, in the state of South Carolina, and even just like I think a lot, just it's human nature, you want to open, people will always find like a softer spot for the younger ones, but there's a really big need for there to be support for our preteens and teens throughout the state. And once they get to, it was kind of heartbreaking. There was a girl that was in our cottage on campus, and she was 18 years old, and she was still hoping she was going to get adopted. But the older that they get, the chances, and I don't know the exact percentage, but the chances of them being adopted just drastically decrease. And right now we do serve a small number of infants through the 4K population in our Child Development Center, just because we're helping break cycles with our programs. We want these children to be able to get a high quality education at a young age to really be able to build their future. But for the residential program and our bread and butter, it's 12 at this time.
I want
Okay.
one final comment, because I know, Lou, you want to wrap up. Again, remember, November 1st, if you're interested, let Lauren know, or me. You're going to get to meet the president of our organization, Myron Wilkins. You're going to meet several board members and the people that are actually doing the work. And there's not many charities you can donate to where you get to meet the senior staff as well as the people doing the work, let alone companies. So we hope, if you're interested, come see us on November 1st and let us know. We'd love to have you for dinner.
Mhm.
Thanks.
Well, Maury, Lauren, I thank you very, very much. It is a very difficult task that you do, and it's one that I'm sure could always use some help, whether it's financial or just in-person type of help. So I thank you for coming and talking to us about this today. Again, the contact information is in the chat. If you open that up, maybe take a screenshot or just write it down very quickly. It's available for you. November 1st is the event
Yes.
Maury just mentioned. And with that, we will wrap it up. And as a reminder to those that joined us just a little bit late, we will be doing the CWRAPs monthly. They will be the first Monday of each month. And Mary will figure out the email issue as far as logos and gibberish emails and get that all solved before the next time. So I thank everybody for coming. And that is it for today. Many thanks. Bye, folks.